heard Mark Moreno quote the NASA scientist about how we've got to destroy industrial society. This is the Rewilding Project. It's the UN. It's the end game. Mark, what about that question about humans mining things and then destabilizing the Earth? Go ahead.
You know, I mean, exactly what you just said, Alex. I mean, first of all, the Earth is majority oceans, for number one, and for human activity to do that, they had a study about 5 or 6 years ago. Even on the land-based thing, the Earth was still 40 or more % in total wilderness of all surface, land-based surface activity, I believe, on the Earth. So it's not, people have this image that we've literally paved the entire Earth. That's not the case, and I don't think there's any way we could affect the wobble. I have not seen any studies on that. That sounds like a wild speculation.
Let's go to John in West Virginia. You're on the air. Go ahead.
Hey, hello.
Go ahead, sir.
Yes, I was just at work the other day. These they were really nice people came in, and he was a science teacher at the local high school. And I asked him what they teach about the kids in school about global warming. He said, well, not really much, but, he said he had a buddy that actually worked with the university that took core samples and this and that. And I asked him, he said it was it was shrinking, but not much. And I said, well, what time of the year was it when they did it? And he kind of looked at me funny. And then I asked him if he'd heard about all the emails from the IPCC discrediting, how did the data, discredit scientists. And he said, he was unaware. And I said, well, you can, get on YouTube or Google it. And there's all kinds of, news coverage about it.
John, I appreciate your call. We got to move quick. Another example of the almost complete media blackout so far here in the U.S.
Yeah, it really is. And they won't be able to get away with that for long. Again, people listen to talk radio. People read the Internet. People are reading opinion columns. People, some of the cable news is covering this. Not much, though. Even Fox News has not been covering these.
Why aren't Republicans having hearings about this?
I don't know. That's a very good question. This should be, this is, what this also affects, because the UN IPCC climate panel has now been discredited, the EPA basis for declaring CO2 a pollutant is now completely bogus because it relies heavily on the UN IPCC science, which has now been discredited. So there needs to be a lawsuit going at the heart of that, and there have been some congressmen involved in that, and talking about a lawsuit against that. But you're right. This should be front and center. We need to kill it now while the momentum's there. We can't let them regroup, institute a bunch of silly reforms.
This is the key to their whole program. One more call. DJ in Illinois. You're on the air with Mark Moreno. Go ahead.
Mark, I'm glad to hear you. I think that they are making a very critical move, a very strategic move, and it has been done so quietly, most of the folks don't even know what's going on. It is called the Upper Mississippi River International Port District Act in Illinois. Look at Illinois.
Yeah, that's like NAFTA superhighways. These 80+% of our ports are now foreign run. Mark Moreno, comments on that.
Well, that's all part of the globalist agenda. And, people just need to step back, people praising China, people thinking that a global government can bring. And just remember that throughout history, governments have been the most violent institutions, bar none. And anyone who wants, and the bigger the government, the more repressive and the less easy to control. So when you get to a level where you're talking about, either the EU or global UN controlling carbon, something we exhale from our mouth, down to the level where they're telling us what kind of toilet paper we can use, what kind of shower head. We're talking about international body. We have a German climate advisor calling for a CO2 budget for every man, woman, and child on the planet.
Oh, the British are calling for your carbon ration.
It's everything. That's the game right there.
They're calling for the carbon rations. DJ, I'm sorry we're out of time. That was a great point you brought up. These people are control freaks, and national sovereignty is a firewall against tyranny. Imagine if there had been a global government and Hitler would have taken it over, or Stalin. ClimateDepot.com. Our website's Infowars.com. Mark, keep it up. We appreciate you. Call for Congress to have hearings on this, my friend.
All right. Thank you very much, Alex. It's far from over, but it is joyful to watch this collapse at the moment.
Here we are, ladies and gentlemen, hour number 4. How time has flown past us. Thank you so much for joining us. I want to have Neil and Al and a few others on the whole climate situation be able to continue to comment. They were taking over the locals, the federals, and at the international level with their total control of our lives. They're still having the executive branch in Europe, in England, the U.S., Australia, Canada, New Zealand, and other nations, Japan, do it. They don't care what the Diet says in Japan. They don't care what the Parliament says in England. They don't care what the U.S. Senate says here in the U.S. They don't care. They're not stopping. They don't care. Yes, we have the tools to expose the frauds. Yes, it's all a lie. Yes, they want to destroy industrial civilization. These are hardcore villains. They exist. They're real. They're on record. Now, coming up, I want to get into the Iran situation. I want to get into the latest with Kurt Haskell and what happened there. Sharp-dressed man who aided underwear bomber in the Flight 253 was U.S. government agent. I want to go over that, but right now let's go back to some of the phone calls. Let's talk to Al in Florida. Al, you're on the air.
Hello, Mr. Jones. I have two questions for you. The first one is, do you know what a fluorocarbon footprint is?
Yes.
What's a fluorocarbon footprint?
They're talking about a spectrum of gases that they believe contribute to man-made global warming.
And that's the footprint, carbon footprint, right?
That's a spectrum term I've seen them use.
Yeah, because I got a bill knocked on my door from the Florida Energy Conservation Advisors providing free home energy conservation and energy waste and fluorocarbon footprint. They want to know how many adults in the home, children, your name, telephone.
Yeah, what they're doing is, without the enabling legislation, and some states have already passed it as law, they put smart thermostats in, and they say they're going to turn your thermostat on or off. They're going to decide how hot or cold your house is. That's mainstream news. Austin is getting these stinking things. Our office got one about 4 months ago. They don't ask. They come and put it on outside so the government could turn my heat down or up or whatever they wanted to do. And they're doing, Austin wants to make you have audits to be able to sell your house. And then they can raise the level of the audit over the years. Like the income tax started out at 1%, and now it's 40%. So, yes, that's these home inspections. And it's the same thing with the animal ID, premises ID. It's not law, it's a regulation. But when you fill that form out, you waive all your rights on your property.
And my second question is this. The eugenicists, these elitists, these people who want to control population and be beyond one child population, but eliminate 80% of us. Is it the great persecution that John in Revelation talked about in the Bible, the greatest persecution mankind has ever seen, that God himself has to put an end to it, or no life would be left? Is that the same thing?
It sure fits the bill, doesn't it?
It sure do.
I appreciate your call, Al. Cass, John, Jera, others, we're going to get to your calls, but I need the news blitz when we get back, and I will. And we'll also get into some economic news coming up as well. The toll-free number to join us on air is 1-800-259-9231. Our websites are prisonplanet.tv and Infowars.com. Don't forget Infowars.net has a lot of exclusive news on it as well. JonesReport.com, whatistheendgame.com, followtherepublic.com, the Obama Deception.net. The list goes on and on. All the sites are excellent. Check them out today. We'll be right back on the other side of this quick break to break down a ton of absolutely vital news. Stay with us.